Thank you and welcome to our fourth town hall meeting. We want to give a special thanks to Principal Roberson, I don't see him, and his staff for hosting this evening's event. We also have our board members here up front. We thank you for your support. And tonight, we are offering up opportunity to converse with you, to hear questions, to answer questions. Dr. Brown will run through his presentation, and right after that, we'll have our questions from you all. So please be thoughtful and respectful as we listen to your questions and try to answer them the best way possible. My name is Jamie Wilson. I am the Chief of Staff. I am new here. This is my first year here, so I'm excited to be also learning with you all as well. Dr. Brown.
Good evening, everyone. Ooh, I know I'm tired. I get that, but we got to wake each other up tonight. It's good evening. We wanted to take some time to talk about some updates to what we've been doing with the 100-day plan, just getting a sense of what needs exist in the district and how we can work together to address those. I'll go through each of the 6 pillars that we discussed as far as those goals and what things we've done going back to the beginning of the school year since then. We're getting to the end of this now. We'll also be thinking about what things look like going forward. So a couple things will happen in the spring. After the plan is completed, this particular plan, we're going to be doing an instructional audit in February that will give us some intel, some information about what we are doing well from an instructional perspective and what things we need to continue to focus on or change or whatever the case may be. We'll also be engaging in the late spring or early fall in a brand new strategic plan. That'll be a 5 to 7 year plan that we want some collaboration from folks to be on those committees to help us craft what that is going to look like. That will not be my plan. That will be the community's strategic plan in reference to schools. But in terms of the RISE plan and what we've done thus far, I always talk about the first pieces of business, our core business, what we are about, what we're supposed to be focused on for particular areas: student learning, student experience, communications, and finance. Each of these things drive the work we're doing. So we're talking about student learning. Obviously, we're talking about the academic components of what we do from an instructional perspective, our test results and things of that nature. We want that to be as solid and sound as possible so that our kids can have the best opportunities to be successful. I'm going to skip over student experience and come back to that in a minute. Communications. We're trying to do everything we can to be as transparent, open as we can in terms of things that happen in the district, giving news about the district, and talking about what we look like going forward. This has to be a sense of what we as a community can do together and what we do in the school district so we're all successful. And then finances, of course, how we equitably distribute resources so that every kid, every school, every area gets the type of resources it needs to be successful. We've often talked about equity being, some folks think that means everybody gets the same thing. That's not equity, that's equality. When we're talking about equity, people get what they need. So if everybody in this room needs a new pair of shoes, and we decided that we're going to partner with Nike and everybody gets a new pair of shoes. So they truck in a bunch of pairs of shoes, all size 12. Will those work for everybody? No. Equity means everyone gets the size they need. But I want to go back to student experience. This is something we've been really focused on, and also gaining information about where we are as a school district to make sure we're as inclusive for kids as possible, so that students can feel safe, so that students are engaged, they are connected, and they have a strong sense of belonging in their schools. Those are things that we think the more we improve those things, the better our instructional program becomes. So that is an important piece of all the work that we're going to end up doing going forward. RISE stands for review, identify, strategize, and engage. Obviously, that's what this plan has been able to do, to give us information about where we are so that we can determine what we want to do going forward. The RISE plan wasn't about solving every problem that exists. It was about gaining information, because if you go into any new endeavor, you don't just go in there and start changing things, because you have to understand the context by which things have taken place. Those are the 6 goals associated with the plan, so I'm going to jump through each of those just to give you an update on what we've done with each of those goals. Under goal 1, having every student be academically successful and prepare for life, work, and college. Some things we've already taken care of. We've looked at our baseline data points across K through 12 to give us an idea of what we're doing well instructionally and what's not going well instructionally. That gives us information that helps us make the best plans possible. End of quarter exams have taken place at the end of the first quarter. We're looking at that information, as well as standards-based assessments being taken place all across the district. We're talking about discussions about how we can expand dual enrollment offerings for our kids. Our post-secondary partners are ready to work with us to create an opportunity for those opportunities to spread to more kids to be able to get involved in dual enrollment programs. I would love to see a day when every single one of our kids takes at least one AP, IB, or dual enrollment course before he or she graduates. I also would love to be able to see the day when we have numbers of kids walking across the stage with associate's degrees in hand as they graduate from high school. That is very possible. My last district where I was in Ohio, we had roughly 600 graduates per year. We had about 25 kids per year going across the stage with an associate's degree in hand. We can do the same thing here. Talking about the pre-SAT, which was taken a couple of weeks ago. That particular piece is a little bit old. So about 3 weeks ago, the pre-SAT took place. We're analyzing patterns of student achievement to look for strengths and challenges that we need to confront. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the curriculum audit will take place in February. That will be a third-party vendor that will come in and do that work for us. They have 16 team members ready to come and go all over the district to do not only observations, but also focus groups and interviews so they can get a sense of what information they can give back to us so we can really create some plans to help us be successful. Under Goal 2, partnering with families in the community and the education of our youth. Gear Up is a huge program that we've been fortunate enough to be connected with Alabama State and with the State Department to actually get that off the ground, which will provide some mentorship and some academic coaching for middle school and high school kids. We've met with the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts so we can continue to build what that could look like for our elementary students. We've met with almost every city and county entity so that our community partners can also be there to support us. We know schools can't be successful without support from the community and vice versa. We're reimagining the role of our parent liaison. That position is posted now, so we'll be interviewing for that shortly. Strengthening partnerships with our business community. I've talked with so many different businesses who are interested in partnering with us in different ways, not only just to provide resources, but also to give kids opportunities to do internships and externships and to do job shadowing and those types of things. We will be meeting with groups of students and with teachers in the very near future to get some information back from them. And then finally, putting our families back in the buildings. Obviously, when COVID took place, school was shut down. We want to be able to get our parents back into buildings to be able to help, and our community back into buildings to help support kids. So we've had a lot of things happen already. We've had a grandparents day, parent community day. We've had a bring your parent to PE day. Here we hosted a huge opportunity for males to engage with people in the community. So we'd like to get our community back into buildings. Recruiting, developing, and supporting, retaining staff is really, really important. We've undertaken a compensation study, which we should get some data back very soon, that will allow us to be competitive, not only in the state of Alabama, but the entire southeastern region, so we can recruit to the best degree possible, the best teachers and staff that we can possibly get. Crafting plans for recruitment for next year. That starts now. We're looking forward to how we're going to do that and partner with our post-secondary folks so we can get to their candidates for teaching positions as early as we possibly can. When they're seniors and already in the job market and looking for jobs, that may be too late. We'd like to see them when they're sophomores so we can start to cultivate relationships with them early. Our Summer Leadership Institute took place this past summer, which was fantastic. We had a great opportunity to talk about visioning and how we want to change instructional practice. That will happen again this upcoming summer. We have monthly leadership development meetings with our principals and assistant principals to be able to give them enough support so they can grow in their leadership, which will help us grow as a district. And then planning for future calendars that will allow for additional professional development days for our staff. Our current calendar handcuffs us a little bit in terms of what we're able to provide, so we want to look at what that's going to do and be creative in that regard. And then teacher professional development that are supported by academic coaches. Providing optimal and equitable learning environments, crafting plans for revamping our student pathways, the structure, and the accessibility. The idea of any school, any student would be able to do things that he or she wants to do, not the things that they're forced to do. We want to be in positions where kids can make choices for their own futures. We don't have to make those choices for them. We can partner with them to help them to come to conclusions about what they might want to do, but we shouldn't be making those choices for them. Identifying partners to assist in that development, that's happening as well. And then assessing our infrastructure to make decisions about how best to optimize our learning environments. All of our buildings are not what they should be. We know that. We know they're not all 21st century learning spaces. We want to be able to work in a direction to go that, and we have a capital plan to go about doing just that. Goal number 5 is promoting efforts to enable students to be healthy and ready to learn. Reviewing best practices to address social and emotional issues that may come to the table. Our students carry a lot of weight when they come in our buildings. We can't ignore that. We can't disregard that and say, just come on in and get ready to study for these tests. No, we have to honor that experience and provide them with support so they can be successful. And then we can attend to academic issues. Introducing the concept of restorative practices, so when kids make mistakes, which they will because they're kids, they get an opportunity to see how their actions impact others in the environment, and they can learn from that experience as opposed to just being suspended and just brought right back in school when nothing takes place in between. And then finally, meeting with various community members and agencies to establish mentorship opportunities. I'm looking forward to one particular one in partnership with the YMCA. We're going to be adopting, if you will, about 15 to 20 kids across the district, and then they're going to spend the day with us at work. And then we're going to take them to lunch. We're going to have a debriefing opportunity with them, in which they can ask questions about what they've seen, what they'd like to see, and what their experience was. And we're going to want to repeat that throughout the school year with numbers of different kids. And then finally, goal 6, to be efficient, effective, and transparent in business operations. We've held 2 budget hearings already this year. Our information in terms of our budget is readily available. Mr. Watts is readily available to answer questions about financial issues that people may have questions to. We've had a completely clean financial audit, and that's the first time in how long? The audit? We're going to say that loud. We had the first clean financial audit in over 20 years. That did take place. HR is currently assessing our staff needs and making sure we add teacher units where necessary based on student populations. And we're having regular discussions about how expenditures are divvied out in order to address district needs. Then finally, planning for the future. There will be a number of different things that will come to the forefront in the next few weeks, including a capital improvements plan that will be not just a spreadsheet, but we want to put together a document that's easy to read so that folks can see what construction is going to be taking place and why and where and how much and all that other good stuff. So those are some things we've done this first quarter, if you will. I thought someone was calling me. To address those 6 goals within the MPS RISE plan. As far as the plan is concerned, that's really all I wanted to share tonight, but we wanted to entertain questions you might have in regard to visioning, in regard to where we're going and what we want for our community. So you gonna take them out? Is that one of them? I can yell.
Oh, there's 2. Okay, at this time, we're going to take questions. During this time, you may ask a question. What we ask is that you're timely with your question and that you are respectful and considerate of others as they might have questions as well. And so if there's any questions for Dr. Brown at this time, I'll come over with the mic and we can get started in our Q&A session. So what questions might we have?
What's the vision for Sidney Lanier?
The vision for the building, you mean? Was that what your question is? Yes? The board acted numbers of months ago prior to my arrival that the building would close at some point. We'll be crafting a plan within the next few weeks that we will able to roll out to share that information at that point. As superintendent, it's my job to carry out the actions of the boards. That decision has already been made. We just need to craft a plan about what that's going to look like.
Any other questions? Oh.
Thank you. You mentioned redefining the role of the parent liaisons. What do you have planned for the parent liaisons? You gonna give them more money?
We'll address that later. In terms of what that looks like, I think it's important. Schools traditionally, not just Montgomery, but anywhere, we traditionally expect parents to always come to the building in order to engage in things. We want to be able to take things out into the community and put programs and ideas and opportunities to engage in places where people may be more comfortable or they may be more accessible. So some of those things might change. We also want to have more of an academic focus in which we're allowing our liaisons to help with translating some of the things that are happening in the classrooms so that parents know how to assist their kids when they get at home. We want to create be very creative about how that's utilized, because it's a huge resource that we probably think is undervalued and underutilized.
Good evening. My question is in relation to college and career readiness. We know that the Alabama State Department of Education is looking to make a CCRA requirement for graduation, and I wanted to know what type of model is the board considering? Is it looking at an academy model, or like the ones they have in Gwinnett County, Georgia, for increasing courses and types of things? So just a little bit more about this.
Sure. Ideally, we want to be in a position to create academic pathways across the entire district where kids can get, when they're younger, they can get experiences in seeing numbers of different things they may want to do, so that as they get older into upper middle school and high school, now they can make a choice about which way they want to go. We want those pathways to be spread across the entire district. So from a CTE perspective, we want to work with our college partners, but also our business partners to craft what those pathways might be. We have some ideas about what the chronology of classes might be and that sort of thing, but we want that everywhere, and we want kids to be able to make choices. For example, the culinary program at Carver is fantastic. We know that. But if I'm a kid on the other side of the city, I, for whatever reason, don't have access. Why is that? And why shouldn't you have access? Yeah.
So will then, in order for students to gain access to different programs, is the district considering open enrollment again, where students can enroll in those schools that may have those specialties?
That will be part of the conversation, yes, because we would like to be able to open that up. And if there's a pathway that we develop, let's say it's a criminal justice pathway, and it's at a school that's out of a zone for a student, but he's interested in that, we want that kid to be able to access that program. So we'll be having that conversation. No decisions have been made about that, but we'll be having those conversations.
Good evening. I heard you mention about dual enrollments and that you've been speaking with Alabama State University. It has been brought to my attention that I believe the magnet school out in the East Old Montgomery Mall, they have dual enrollment programs at Trenum, and the issue is transportation. They have no transportation across the streets. So is there a path that you all are working on to provide that transportation across the street, and how does transportation look when you open up dual enrollment to other colleges?
Good question. Actually, we just discussed part of that today. Dual enrollment would work with Trenum, Alabama State, and any of our college partners, so we want to cultivate that. But specifically for students at Impact that could to reach over to Trenum, we've introduced the idea with the city of the potential, nothing's been determined, a potential of having a walking bridge across the street, which would eliminate that issue. Because really transportation is the only thing that prevents those kids from going.
So I did hear about the walking bridge. So with that would solve that concern with those particular students
Right.
going to Trenum. But have you all considered the transportation concerns with the other universities?
We haven't yet, but we'll be having those discussions as well. We've also talked about with our college partners, not necessarily having kids having to go to the university, but having those professors come to us. So there are a number of different ways to do that. We can also get our own staff credentialed to teach those types of classes. So there are a number of different ways to get that done.
How you doing? I have a question for high school.
Okay.
I know in middle school they have social workers in middle school. I would like to know will we be able to get social workers for high school?
I believe we have some already at high school. Am I correct? Yeah, we already have some at high school. Do we need more? Probably, and we have resources to do that as well.
The reason why I'm asking, due to more students having mental health problems.
Completely agree.
With high school, dealing with, not graduating on time, personal issues, and also will we have just, people to reach out for the teachers also that's dealing with mental health.
Yeah, those mental health supports are important. I completely agree with you. That's something as educational institutions, we're kind of behind the ball, if you will, in terms of putting those things in place. But we have a ton of resources that we can use and deploy in that regard. But thinking about them very differently, I'm glad you said that about the adults. We have to also find ways to support them in many regards as far as what they're dealing with as well, because we're all bringing this stuff to work every day. We're never going to be our best selves unless we learn to get supports to help us navigate what those situations might be. So we want to spread that as much as we possibly can. Sure. I mean, we'll put them in place as much as we possibly can. I mean, one thing to think about, financially, we can support a lot of things in terms of human capital and finding people to fill roles. That's difficult right now because they're not easy to find. So if we're able to fill positions and get people in place, we want to do that as soon as we can. In terms of providing things directly to adults, is that the number one priority? The students have to be first, but absolutely we want to provide those supports for the adults as well. Sure. I mean, schools can put together any professional development opportunities they want to at any point, as well. And the staff members have ideas about what they may need support with. I will take that to your principal and have that conversation. If they need support from central office to make that happen, we can do that as well. No, they're good questions. Good questions.
For the students heading to Trenton
Uh-huh.
from Impact.
Mm-hmm.
Have you all considered talking with MATS?
We have not. That's a good question. Thank you for sharing that. Mm-hmm. We have not considered that yet.
And also at our school, like she was saying, at high school, they have a lot of issues with teachers and students with
Sure.
mental health issues. At the school where I am, and I'm at an elementary school, we have a lot of issues with students that's lost parents. I mean, a bunch of them is unusual to me. I've never seen anything like that before. And so I was just trying to figure out if there was something that we could put into place, or, you know, something that they could do, because it's not really much help for them. And we even have a couple of students that have had older siblings to commit suicide. And I know the parents are still struggling, so they really can't help their child like they need help. And so we're having a lot of issues
Sure.
with that, dealing with, you know, a lot of those things.
Yeah, as far as having resources in place for every event that takes place, that's probably impossible to do that because we can't anticipate what those things are. But when specific things come to the forefront, when we know about them, we can certainly help families find resources for those types of things, even if they're not there every day. Does the district have, the question was, do we have a mental health services coordinator? We have a student services director who's over all of that. We know we need to pour more resources in that as well. We talked about that quite a, I'm seeing heads nod. Yes, we do, but we still need to put some more resources in that. So we just had a conversation today about a potential partnership with an organization called AASA, which is the National Superintendents Association, that may potentially give us a grant that allows us to spread what that looks like with some additional funds as well.
I would also offer with the grief counseling, New York Life Company has a representative who will do training
Okay.
for grief counseling to faculty and staff.
Can you?
Share that with Dr. Williams.
Thank you. That's what I was going to ask you to do. Thank you.
I have another question. You all mentioned earlier and kind of cut it short about the Lanier High School situation. I know that you stated that the board made their ruling before you coming.
Yes.
It was initially, I guess, hearsay at this point now, that there may be an opportunity to discuss that further, because decisions can be changed.
Not to my knowledge, that hasn't been presented to me. I don't believe the board was interested in entertaining that.
And I do believe we have new members coming on
We do.
after the election. So I was just wondering, is there a time after the upcoming election in 2 weeks that there may be a discussion? I know you all are planning a discussion, but it can be an open discussion to the public.
Well,
for us to
that's
be
not my
involved.
call. That has to be a board decision. And again, once the board's made a ruling, it's my job to carry out that action. So we'll start
Right.
that process.
Okay, so it's nothing going to take place before the November election, to your knowledge?
I mean, we're going to put out a plan within the next few weeks.
So you're going to do it before the election?
We're going to put out a plan to do so in the next few weeks, yes.
Will the public be involved in that?
No.
Or when will the public be involved?
The public was involved when the board made the decision in the first place, to my knowledge.
Okay, so we just basically need to meet with our board members.
Sure, yes.
Thank you.
Huh? Yes.
One of the things that I think your voice not carried. I moved from Montgomery from Ohio, so I'm
OH.
used to IO. So I'm used to a different level of educational services and things of that nature. One of the things that I became aware of when I first moved here was the lack of recess and things of that nature for children, which in my mind plays a huge role in behavioral issues and discipline and things of that nature. I know because of how the district has been for a long time, it would probably be hard to implement those things. But has that been considered? Because again, like I said, I feel like that plays a major role for children. I don't feel like they really get the time to be free with their mind and free with creativity and things of that nature. So has that been considered?
I mean, to my knowledge, that's what we're doing at elementary schools, and kids get a substantial amount of recess. Now, I'm a former elementary principal, so recess to me is a huge deal. They need opportunities for free play, to just get rid of energy, whatever the case may be. So, and we can check to see if there's a specific issue that we might need to address. We're happy to do that. But my understanding is our recess is in place at all of our schools.
Okay. Maybe I missed out on it.
Any other questions?
Are we anxious to get to the football game? Okay. We thank you very much for coming out tonight. Obviously, over the course of the next few months, we'll have a lot of discussions about a lot of things, and we'll need community input. The strategic plan we work on in the spring, we're going to need a huge amount of community input on those particular committees. I'd foresee having a steering committee that would drive what the 4 or 5 different foci areas might be on that plan, and then for each of those areas, crafting subcommittees to work on those particular areas to come up with goals and objectives associated with that. That'll be a huge undertaking for our district because we want to chart a direction. We don't want to just make decisions for tomorrow. We're going to make decisions about 5, 10 years down the road. So we look forward to engaging in that work and continuing to partner as things go forward. We really appreciate you coming out. Thank you so much.